Deadpool and Wolverine is out now, and not only is it an amazing movie, but it also officially launches the X-Men into the MCU. I mean, we saw Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in an MCU movie. What a time to be alive. But today, we're going to take a look at all these mutants who are now officially in the MCU and rank them all from weakest to strongest. See who just really is the most powerful of them all. So let's get into it. And at bottom place, starting off the list, well, it's gotta be Toad. I mean, his mutant power is literally a long, sticky tongue and acting like a frog. The dude's a joke, and you know he's gotta be in last place here. Caliban is basically a mutant find my friend. He's like a bloodhound who's able to find mutants all over the world just by sense of smell. A useful power, sure, but also an oddly specific power and one that doesn't put him too high on the list. Jubilee can basically shoot out fireworks from her hands. Well, I guess with a power like that, she could have been higher on the list. We've literally seen nothing from her, so to the bottom she goes. Oh, Darwin. What could have been? His mutant power is supposed to be reactive adaptation, meaning his body rapidly grows and evolves in order to protect him from any attack and allow him to survive in any situation. It's all focused on keeping him alive, or at least that's what his power is supposed to be, because Darwin was pretty much instantly taken out with the first bad guy he ran across. So not all that impressive. Wolfsbane is basically a werewolf, though not literally a werewolf because it's not depending on the moon. So basically her powers are to transform into an actual wolf. It's cool and it's useful in a fight, but she's not all that impressive or powerful, especially compared to a whole lot of other mutants out there. Viper is pretty much just a snake lady, complete with all the snake powers you could want. She's got a long tongue, she can create all sorts of venoms and toxins. Viper can even heal from injuries by pretty much shedding her skin like a snake and regenerating that way. Even though Angel was one of the original X-Men in the comics, he's never really been given the spotlight or a time to shine in the movies. He's got two different versions, his main form, then Archangel as a servant of Apocalypse. While Archangel can throw around metal feathers, his main superpower is just being able to fly around with his angel wings. Banshee's got the power of a sonic scream. While it's deafening to everyone nearby, will give all the dogs in the neighborhood a headache, one of the main advantages here is just the versatility. He's learned how to fly with his scream by riding the sound waves. He's even got a limited form of echolocation. Warpath is just basically the X-Men's version of a super soldier. He's superhumanly strong, fast, he's tough, he's a skilled fighter and loves his Bowie knife, but maybe the greatest thing that he's got are his senses. He can see in the dark and detect things moving up to 10 miles away. While at first Yukio had the mutant power of Death Touch, meaning she could know exactly how someone was going to die. After the timeline rebooted, well, now her powers are just electricity manipulation. But that's a lot more handy in a fight. It's even allowed her to help take down Juggernaut alongside Colossus and her girlfriend. Fire Fist has some powerful pyrokinesis, and we know he gets more powerful in the future, but as a teenager, well, this is kind of where he's topping out in the list. Psylocke's got the ability to manipulate psychic energy, and she usually uses it to create weapons and swords for fights. She's basically like a purple psychic ninja. Is a really skilled fighter, a deadly killer. Beast is an interesting one. He's another one of the founding X-Men in comics, and in comics, you can argue that he should be higher than this. But just in the movies, well, this is a fair spot, I believe, simply because of Beast's lack of versatility. He's incredibly strong, surprisingly fast and agile, but that's about all he's got, and then he's trying to take on Magneto? Yeah, that's not gonna go too well. Lady Deathstrike is basically just a lady Wolverine, except instead of claws, she's got very long fingernails. But those fingernails are covered in adamantium, meaning they can instantly take people out with one slash. And she's got a pretty nice healing factor too. Of course, not quite as good as the other healers on this list. Gambit's got the mutant ability to charge up items with biokinetic energy, causing them to explode. He usually just resorts to throwing playing cards around, which go off with the force of a grenade, but Gambit can theoretically charge up just about anything. The larger the item, well, the larger the explosion. You might not really think about Pyro too much, but turns out he's one of the better pyrokinetics in this universe. He can instantly disintegrate people with just one blast headed their way. But while he can control fire, he can't actually create fire himself, which means he's got to carry around a lighter with him at all times. Blink comes from the alternate Days of Future Past universe, and she's got some very handy powers with being able to create portals at will. This means that she can instantly teleport all around during a fight and get out of harm's way, but she can also close those portals in an instant. And trust me, you don't want to get caught in one when that happens. Blob is, well, a blob of a man, but you really don't want to call him that. He's superhumanly strong, but maybe more than that, the guy is just incredibly superhumanly tough. He's basically invulnerable to all sorts of attacks that come his way, to the point where he could take a direct blast from a tank and not even be phased. Silver Samurai might not technically be a mutant, but he was the main villain in one of the movies who was trying to steal mutant powers, so it seemed fitting to include him on the list. The Silver Samurai armor is actually pretty powerful. It's entirely made out of adamantium, so it's pretty much indestructible. It's got adamantium blades, which can actually even cut through other adamantium, and it can steal mutant powers. So yeah, pretty powerful. Sunspot has the mutant power to absorb and manipulate solar energy. He basically becomes the X-Men's Human Torch, and he can use all that sunlight to shoot out Flame Blast, burst himself into flames, and he gains super strength and super durability. Negasonic Teenage Warhead is basically like a walking, talking nuclear bomb, except just a really low-key one. She can create explosions at will out of her body, basically just throwing herself at an opponent and then detonating. She can also use that same energy to create force fields around her body, so she's not injured by the blast. Azazel is basically just like Nightcrawler, and might be Nightcrawler's dad. That's a little up in the air, but they do have essentially the same powers and look pretty much exactly the same. He can teleport around at will, disappearing and reappearing in a cloud of red smoke. They make fun of Domino's powers, but turns out being lucky is actually a pretty useful power. She can manipulate probability fields around her, basically meaning that she can turn things in her favor, even regardless of how improbable it might be. It makes her kinda OP in a fight sometimes, and she's also just a really good fighter on her own and an elite mercenary. Mystique was born with the ability to shapeshift into anyone she wants, which should come in pretty handy when your real form is a blue-skinned scaly lady. She's also very fast and agile, and a pretty skilled fighter too. She can casually take down most opponents, is even able to hold her own against someone like Wolverine. Bishop's got the power to absorb and redirect all different types of energy, which it can then fire back out as its own energy blast. It's a pretty effective power. He's basically able to take your attack, then turn it and use it against you. But there are limits to it, and his energy absorption can be overloaded and take him out. Cannonball's got the ability to basically transform himself into a living cannonball. He'll charge up with all sorts of energy, then launch himself in the air at an opponent. And that same energy that he's using to charge himself up would also create a force field around him, makes him invulnerable to attacks. So while he's literally charging head first into harm's way, he's not actually hurt by it. Havoc is Cyclops' older brother, and they have basically the same powers. They're both able to shoot out concussive blast of energy. Except for Havoc, well, instead of out of his eyes, it's really out of his whole body. The problem with that is that he really had no control over them. They would just shoot out all over the place, causing havoc. But eventually he learned and mastered his powers and was pretty powerful. Laura, also known as X-23, is the biological daughter of Wolverine and has essentially the same powers as him, a powerful healing factor and adamantium claws. Just like her dad, she's able to heal from literally any attack that comes her way. She's a powerful and skilled fighter, and she's able to easily cut through opponents with her razor-sharp claws, even having an adamantium claw come out of her feet. Mirage is an interesting one, because while she doesn't really have the greatest control over her powers can be absolutely crippling and take down much more powerful foes. She's got the power of illusion casting, meaning she can make illusions of her opponent's greatest fears and nightmares, then use them to terrorize her enemies, causing them serious mental and physical pain. Nightcrawler is the OG teleporter for the X-Men, able to instantly teleport from one point to another, and it really comes in pretty handy in a fight. He's an expert at using his powers. He's nearly impossible to actually tag in a fight, and he can pick up enemies and teleport with them, taking them out of the fight that way. Kitty Pryde's got the mutant power to phase through objects, meaning she can literally shift herself on the atomic level and pass through solid objects. What's especially devastating is when she takes someone else along for the ride with her, leaving them trapped and stuck halfway in an object. Cable's a cyborg mutant soldier from the future, so a lot going on there, but he's an excellent warrior and an expert killer. He's got some superhuman strength and durability because of his cyborg body, a whole lot of futuristic tech and weapons, even up to a time travel device, and even some limited telekinesis, which we'll see from time to time. X-24 is a clone of Wolverine, where it's basically all the powers and skills of the real Wolverine, but if you take out the humanity. He's actually surprisingly strong. He's got adamantium claws too, but the only downside here is that his healing factor might not be completely developed. It doesn't look like it's quite as advanced as the real Wolverines, and so do enough damage, and eventually X-24 is gonna go down. It just takes quite a while. Sabretooth is Wolverine's half-brother and shares a lot of the same abilities, retractable claws, and an advanced healing factor, but Sabretooth more embraced his animalistic side and became a brutal killer and terror. Sabretooth is incredibly strong and powerful. He's actually stronger than Wolverine. He's got a healing factor almost on par with Wolverine's, and claws and fangs that can slice through almost anything in their path. But unlike Wolverine's, well, they're not actually covered in adamantium. Cyclops is the leader of the X-Men and is famous for his power to shoot out powerful optic blasts from his eyes. These blasts are seriously powerful too, and Scott is an expert when it comes to shooting them around. He's got incredible aim, he's even mastered the ricochet, like he's Captain America or something. Sebastian Shaw was the leader of the Hellfire Club, dedicated to starting a nuclear war to destroy humanity. And he's got the mutant power of energy manipulation. He can absorb all types of energy, then use that energy to either increase his physical abilities or actually unleash devastating energy blast. Shaw is also ridiculously hard to beat in a fight because of this power. Since he can absorb all energy, he can take the kinetic energy from your attack and then turn it back around against you. Rogue has the ability to absorb another person's memories and powers just by touching them. She holds that touch for long enough, well, she'll eventually absorb their life. But while killing someone with just a touch is pretty powerful, she's also able to absorb another mutant's powers, then use it herself. meaning she can potentially have any mutant power out there for a short period of time. Emma Frost was a former member of the Hellfire Club and has two pretty good mutant powers. She can turn her body into diamond, meaning that she becomes very strong and very tough, and she's also a very powerful telepath, arguably a telepath on the same level as Charles Xavier. However, she can't use both of these powers at the same time, and this weakness has been used against her in the past. Deadpool is technically a mutant, as he was injected with a drug that was supposed to activate any mutant gene laying hidden inside of him. And while it did technically work, giving him a healing factor on par with Wolverine, it also kinda ruined his life. But Deadpool took it all in stride and went on to become an elite merc, one of the best fighters and killers on the planet. Colossus is the big lumbering muscle. He's also a teddy bear and got a heart of gold. He can transform his whole body into living steel, making himself incredibly strong and ridiculously tough, to the point where he can beat Angel Dust in a fight or even hold his own against Juggernaut, although he did get pushed to the point of fighting dirty in that one. Wolverine is easily the most famous X-Man out there, complete with his signature adamantium claws and healing factor. He's incredibly strong and powerful, can survive literally any attack that comes his way, even nuclear bombs. With his adamantium claws, well, you really don't want to get caught in between them. He's a skilled fighter, a lethal killer. He's the best at what he does. What he does isn't pretty. Iceman isn't just able to transform himself into an Iceman, but he's also able to shoot out ice all around him, either bring people down to freezing, catch them in ice, or just hit them with an ice blast. Not just that, but it looks like he's actually able to control cold and heat itself. We've never really seen much from Magic. After all, she was in the only X-Men movie that most people didn't see. But her powers are actually legit. She's got the ability to travel between dimensions, jumping in and out of limbo at will. She's a skilled and tremendous fighter for Soul Sword, was the one who gave the best fight to the Demon Bear, a literal embodiment of fear. Storm can control the weather at will, and she's easily one of the most powerful mutants out there. She can shoot out lightning bolts, control thunderstorms, hurricanes, tornadoes at will. She's an absolute force to be reckoned with. She's definitely one of the top members of the X-Men, no doubt about that. There have been a few different versions of Juggernaut, but this one is definitely the most powerful and the most intimidating. He's incredibly strong, maybe the strongest mutant out there. While he's not straight up invulnerable or unstoppable like in the comics, this version of Juggernaut is still very tough and can rock just about anyone in a fight. Cassandra Nova is the twin sister of Charles Xavier that he never knew he had. She's the ruler of the Void, and she's one of the most intimidating rulers you'll ever see. Her powers are telepathy and telekinesis, and she is absolutely ruthless with them. She'll tear people apart, literally, then reach into their minds and rip out all their deepest, darkest secrets. Again, literally. Basically, you really don't want to cross her unless you got a healing factor on your side. Quicksilver is the son of Magneto and is easily the fastest mutant out there. And no kidding, this guy is stupid fast. He can reach supersonic speeds no problem. And not only is he able to completely statue bullets, but he can completely statue explosions and lightning too. And all this speed definitely helps Quicksilver in a fight. He's able to rock Apocalypse with a punch. And considering that there are only a handful of other mutants fast enough to catch him, yeah, I would say Quicksilver deserves to be near the top of this list. Professor X is the founder of the X-Men, the driving force behind peace between humanity and mutant kind, and one of the most powerful telepaths on the planet. He can read people's minds with ease, even tapping into almost every mind on the planet at once. And once he's inside your mind, well, he can just simply shut it down with a thought, knock them out, take control of it, plant memories or suggestions, basically do whatever he wants. It's really scary when you think about it. Charles is very, very powerful. Magneto is Professor X's best friend, but the two men couldn't be more different when it came to Mutant's relationship with humanity. He's the master of magnetism and can control everything on the electromagnetic spectrum, but usually just resorts to manipulating metal any way that he wants. And Magneto knows just exactly how to use this power too, ranging from pulling all the metal out of a person's blood to even shifting the Earth's magnetic poles and causing destruction all around the world. Apocalypse is the first mutant, the ancestor of all mutant kind, and it's fitting that he's also one of the most powerful mutants too. And not just that, but he has just about every power you could possibly want. He's got telepathy, telekinesis, he can create portals and force fields at will, he can manipulate all matter around him. He's incredibly, superhumanly strong, fast, and tough, to the point where he might actually just be straight up immortal. And as if all that wasn't enough, Apocalypse also has the ability to bestow powers upon others, making them extremely powerful as well. But we knew who was going to be at the top of this list. Of course, it had to be Jean Grey, the person who beat Apocalypse, and that was before she had even officially tapped into the Phoenix Force. She's not only the most powerful telepath on Earth, but also has essentially unlimited telekinesis. Basically, she can do whatever she wants with just a thought. And I pretty much do mean whatever she wants. And after merging with the Phoenix, well, she only became even more powerful, easily dwarfing both Professor X and Magneto in power, as she was essentially given the powers of a cosmic god. Yeah, no doubt about it, Jean Grey is the most powerful mutant we've ever seen. But what do y'all think? Sound off in the comments down below. I know you're gonna have thoughts and feelings on this one for sure. If you stuck around this long and made it to the end of the video, that's amazing. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting us. And if you want to go subscribe, well, go subscribe. You're going to see more videos like this one every single week. I'll see y'all then. I'll see y'all next time.